We're live. It's alive. It's alive. Ooh, it's alive. And welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. I am your Sensei Al Bob, your griot, here to tell you a story. And, don't believe a word I say. And this show is for grown up entertainment. Shush the kids away. Now, you may, what does a griot do, you say? It is I who tell you a story. Now, the story doesn't need to be true. The story needs to motivate your emotional state to be empathetic to love co-creation, right? So, there's nobody here yet. So let me read you something from I would love it if you guys would go to my Griot Publishing. And all I have to do is, go hit Google and put in xratted.blogspot.com and bingo, Griot Publishing will come up. And here is one of my novels. It is called Cut Number One. Cut One, X-rated Shangri-La, World of Pluggy Boom Boom, written down by OBWDM. That's me. On 6/6/16, the 6th month of the 6th day of the year 2016. And there's my logo. And you see it? X-rated. And it's really X-ratted, right? X means, whenever you put X in front of something, it means unknowable or mysterious or coming from a mystery school. And so you have like the X1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the 15, X-15. Those were all Mysterioso aircraft made by Mr. Dornick, a Nazi war criminal who ran Bell Aerospace. Thank you very much. A la Operation Paperclip. Hello there, AI. Good to see you, buddy. How about a thumbs up? So I'm going to read you a little something. I keep telling people you should go read. So I have 6 novels up there, right? And they're very similar to my little, YouTube channel here at Dreamland, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. So here we go. I'm going to read it to you as people show up. And tonight's show is we're going to do a guided meditation, but I kind of wanted you guys to come to the show with an idea of what you wanted to visit in guided meditation. So before you walk out, and you need to chat. So here, I'm going to start reading you stuff. So X-ratted. We are love's seed, our life, furnishing the condition in which our soul may grow, flourishing, and give the best fruit to love's nature of our life and co-creation. Shangri-La remixed sample. This small mind in the box sees love's beauty as plagiarism. The visionary sees it as divine art in the first person. Quote, Saint Germain. I will be proud to be remembered as a cut and paste man, James Joyce. He actually would write everything in notebooks like this, like I do. And then he would cut them out and paste them in other books. So he was actually a cut and paste man. Now I am too, but I'm using a laptop, right? In our age of power politics, scientific miracles, ultimate threats, it may come as a surprise that the most widely accepted and ancient of ideas is that love's divine, invisible hand establishes rules and flows in the affairs of humanity's existence. As Plato, Shakespeare, and Ben Franklin, and as GFD would say, words of my teacher. And GFD is Grandfather David. And I've had 3 Grandfather Davids. Hey there, artist. I know you're an artist in the first person, right? And a small mind in the box sees love's reality as plagiarism. The visionary sees it as the divine art in the first person. Saint Germain. That's you, buddy. I don't believe in anything. I only have faith in love's beauty of co creation. Words of Pluggy Boom Boom. In the year of our Lord, Bob, 3,181,211 BC. Shangri-La. OBWDM. That's me, right? Al Bob. Text number 13. No fear, a new beginning. Humanity's sacred science. When we get back to our life, we see it is one of running as fast as we can away from our love's life of truth. Quote, Gil Scott Heron. You should go listen to his music. He was, a wordsmith, a poet. He was a bard. He started hip hop and rap, right? Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. He died in the 80s, I think. He had a hard life, and he wrote poetry about it, played the piano, really great. Have you heard the word Johannesburg? 2015. What I do now? The 8 ball has come up snake eyes. Time after time, I'm living on $95 a month. The bank takes everything else. The credit card comes up on my $11 smarter than me phone 22 times a day. When my car worked and I could get myself around to look for work, no one wanted to employ an overly experienced shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist. My discipline is known in the acronym of SPS CFAA. 2006. Died for the seventh time in this life. Got two more lives left. 27 years in, taking care of my reptilian parents, my father slithered the blade of destiny of his reptilian fear of lack of spiritual relevance. The glint of his charm, materialism, illusion, a safety of the self-activating sociopathic software burnt a path nice and deep into my heart. Innocent paternal trust. Love is humanity's co-creative service. Love is our reason for our soul's non-linear immortality. The trust of my father manifesting egocentric separation from love's totality personifies Homo sapiens' inability to move on to more relevant spiritual actions, to be awake to our higher self. It is not enough that humanity in the first person come to drink when the invitation from love's higher source has gone forth. The adept must transform alchemically their ego into a new skin of service to retain the new wine of love's infinite Transformative purpose, Saint Germain. One of my greatest teachers, Saint Germain. You hanging in there, artist? Let's see. Artist, you need to go to xratted.blogspot.com and you will find writing like this. This is my writing. And this is my first cut, It's called X-rated. Living stuck 1,800 feet above, like Jesus, a hunk of meat nailed to a cross of life, facing north, being the shadow of the city of Roanoke, in the common non-wealth of the non-virginal Virginia, wasn't as charming as when I only spent some of the spring, summer months of each year in my mountaintop retreat. Life seemed well enough when I had the illusion of choice. Then I lived south of the neck, able to talk it in and rule. Now, being incarcerated north of the neck, I seem to have no choices left. 3 years earlier, I was thrown up on the death's door. As we all are every day, I just got the veil lifted to see what we are kept from knowing from my physical body. Wanted to throw in the towel, and I could do nothing about it. But I wouldn't die, no matter what the medical model did, no matter how they sliced and diced me, till I had no more money, and still I wouldn't die. Luckily, I ran out of cash before they took my legs, my lungs, my heart. I didn't die. I only kind of died. I am today just there, as I said, on the threshold, but I don't seem to go through to the other side. I got something else to do, and death won't let me rest till I do what I came to my life to do. I don't know what that is now. I'm open to any suggestions, but my situation is bringing me back to my old practices of an aesthetic adept. Every morning I wake in screaming pain. The medical model wanted to put me on morphine pump and Oxycontin. I said no. Thank you. They said, what are you going to do for the pain? I said I would meditate and pray. And that's what I do every morning to get myself out of bed. When I am awake, I breathe in the breath 20% more deeply and expel 30%, both with great intent of spiritual connection to love's totality. Still hanging in there, artist? And this is what an artist goes through, the spiritual totality. Both through great intent and spiritual connection to love's totality. This practice drives me off the ice-cold slab of pain's squirrel-caged wheel of the sleepwalking meat puppet illusion lie of the seeming 3D material artifact reality, waking up, not dead, to the great gift of life, making one appreciate each day, keeping love's gift of life awake in every moment. A traveler was blinded by the illumination of Buddha. As Buddha stood in quiet contemplation, the traveler asked Buddha, "Are you God, man?" Buddha replied, "No." The traveler then inquired, "So, what are you, man?" Buddha replied, "I am awake." To truly be awake, one must live life in service to love, in reverence with the great law of creation's love of co creation. Our Creator's love responds equally to the call of faith from all its creations that co creation has fashioned so wonderfully and so purely in the supreme hope of the absolute cosmic freedom for all. This is spiritual alchemy, and wise are they who first master it in themselves before attempting to govern the elements in others or in nature. For thus is karma justified by wisdom and rendered in balance with the illumination and the darkness and the chaos of all that is love's co creation. Quote Saint Germain. Now there's two of you there. And we've been going for 16 minutes. Just waiting for a crowd to show up. The end time creates comforts, convenience, opinions as belief to kill for. It's just starting to be the cold winter of my illusions discontent. I can't seem to do nothing about it. The real winter hasn't set in yet. Usually I would have left to my snowbird retreat off the beaches of Stewart, Florida, and the Florida Keys. But those days of comfortable choice hasn't been mine for more than 3 years. For karma's eight ball has come up snake eyes time after time. Real winter doesn't come to the hill till the Lord's second week in December. When you got your first 9 inches of snow and ice, the just keeps coming and would continue until you couldn't vacate the hill down the 2 mile stream bed that is our driveway. The average temperature would go above 29 degrees below freezing till May. This is why the last 11 years before 2012, I drained the pipes, turned off the power at the mains, sealed everything up, and left the hill once it stopped being Indian summer, which is sometime between the peak of the fall colors and December 10th. As I have said, that is a pattern of comfortable choice that hasn't been mine for more than 3 years. It was the year 2012 that my reawakening struck me like a truck in the universe's most ubiquitous truck stop. It was the end times of my not who I was meet puppet reality. When the earthquake of my reawakening from my years of succumbing to my sleepwalking meat puppet illusion lie of seeming 3D material edifice of artifice reality of not who I was came with the fall of my natural physical well being that I took for granted by my separated denial of love. My running as fast as I could from love's life of truth. Gil Scott Heron. 2012, the year of the Mayan calendar, 23 days before July 4th, and I was walking into the rainbow gathering of living light seed camp in Jefferson National Forest. The site was on the edge of the TVA's Power Waterway between Bristol and Nashville, Tennessee. Back in the day, we would camp as far away from Babylon as we could pack in, miles from the nearest road, so the authorities would not bother our tribal gathering, for the man won't go where he can't drive. And we would leave the slightest footprint on our Mother Earth of where we were. If we were limited by what we could carry in our on our backs, where we were there to pray for peace, fast for the healing of our soul. But this 2012 site, for all its seeming charm, was scant 100 meters off the newly stinking, blackened top country road, giving the authorities the authority to drive through our church. That's what we called the forest. But this little patch of woods was so oppressed by overlogging, water use, tourist terrorism, gentrification, the toxic waste dumping by GE, ITE, Kodak, Aqua, United Nuclear, Volvo, Siemens, DuPont, Monsanto. It no longer represented love's garden. So that is just the first page and a half of a 200-page novel. And it goes into many, many interesting things. So you should go to xratted.blogspot.com. And welcome. Here we're in 21 minutes, 19 seconds to our evening's show of Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your Sensei Al Bob, your griot to tell you a story. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about was loss. Right? And I've lost a lot, but I don't whine about it because I learned young in my life that loss, mistakes, tragedy are all opportunities to grow. Right? And if you do that, then that loss, is not a negative thing. And I've lost love, and I've lost loved ones, and I've lost friends, and I've lost physical things like my health, and fortunes, and none of it matters because it all served to grow my soul. Make me more aware of who I am. Right, wake me up. Right, and not the wokeness of a whining, movement. And I never liked movements because they were like bowel movements, brown and stinky. And not that the color brown is bad, the people of color. I'm an African American that's melanin challenged, So 23 minutes and 16 seconds. So, artist, are you still there? What do you want me to talk about? What's in your gut? What are you thinking about? Right? What would you do to change the world? And what kind of art do you do? I'd like to know that. So, Mart Red artist. What's Mart Red? Marty Red artist? Let's see. Oh, where'd my little guy go? I thought reading about 20 minutes of one of my novels might have, gathered an audience, but I guess not. Well, there I am live. Look at that. I'm live. Right? Well, here I am, Graham. Come on back. Oh. Zero, hey Zero, how you doing, bud? We have our friend here, artist, and I am was planning to do a guided meditation tonight, but I wanted the cadre to define where they wanted to be taken. You know, what they wanted to see, right? And we're right now seems like a time that had never has happened before. But go look at the French Revolution. It was as weird as it is now, but they just didn't have any social platforms. Go 3,200,000 years into the past when Pluggy Boom Boom was around as a demigod, and uh, he's one of my motivating forces in my writing. Pluggy Boom Boom is, and so nothing as it seems to be. Everything is same as it used to be, same as it ever was, and all things are as they should be. Meaning, it's a good thing that we have Carrot Pinhead as our fearless leader, and because he is going to be the last president, right? And he's going to start the new imperial force. Very simply, when Lucas made the films and they showed how the president of the universe went from the galactic, you know, um, constitution to an empire where he became the emperor. That's where we are right now. Right? And there's so many things. I mean, Garrett Pinhead, he what I love about this guy is he is no more corrupt, no more dishonest, no more of a schmuck schmegma than any other politician. All politicians are all the above, right? They're just the usual suspects. And everyone within the construct of any social organization that serves themselves. In why I spent 20 years in Roanoke, Virginia, is because Roanoke is the microcosm of the United States. Socially, politically, environmentally, you name it. They're building a pipeline, destroying the environment. Road has toxed the valley out beyond belief because they have, the the Congress and the Senate back when the railroads were coming online. Well, power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Very nice, Zero. I like that. Attracts the worst and corrupts the best. Yep, that's exactly it. And I've been around the political world a good deal, at least 40 years, because I can read people like a book and I have a talent for reading trends, right? So when I was in New York, the person who ran the Democratic Party, I was their their lucky charm. They would bring me to parties so I could read people and see if they were lying or telling the truth or what their story was. I met the Clintons in the 80s because they were brought to New York to be introduced to all the movers and shakers and go to the CFR and the Trial Commission and all of that stuff. And, go to the evening parties of the Eyes Wide Shut. And I would go to that stuff too, but I would always be kind of not amongst, I'd be taking notes for this person, right? I'm with her, I'm with them, right? And them would be the most powerful folk of the Democratic Party in, New York State and slash the United States, period, and slash, the transnational corporate world, right? And it was nice to be their golden goose, their guy who, they would. I never had to be read in. I never had to join. I was just allowed to see, right? And and I try to be the positive pebble in the pond to try to nudge them into because I was on every, I was the environmental movement, the artist movement, the anti-war movement, the women's movement, you know, racial harmony movement, conversation, every movement you could think of, I was part of in the, you know, beginning stages, right? I was the grandpa Smurf. I was always the guy who was looking at, people say, we have to do something. And I'd be there, well, whatever you want to do. Well, we got to do something. And so I would just make slight suggestions and assistance of motivating people in the right direction. But I never wanted to be the guy in the spotlight. Never wanted the power because exactly what Zero said. I wasn't attracted to the worst, you know, and I didn't want to be corrupted, and I didn't go to those parties where, everyone got drugged out and did inappropriate things with people of inappropriate ages and ended up being filmed and then blackmailed. So I was never, you know, in that position, right? But I would observe it and, enabled me to look at trends deeper. And that gave me access to even more access to information and situations. And I never joined, and many a time, you need to be part of our secret club. You're a guy we need. And I said, well, you can rent me, but I don't want to join. Very, very, I'm very flattered, but I can't quite make up my mind right at this minute, right? So I've been watching us eke towards, the edge of the cliff, and we are like Wile E. Coyote. We've already strapped, the Acme rocket on our back and lit the fuse, and we're zipping along, heading, head over tea kettle after the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner just take that 90 degree, and we've already gone up the cliff. We're flying through the air, and the air's whistling through our hair, and we're kind of going, well, it's not so bad. We're not looking down at the inevitability of hitting, the floor of the valley, 27,000 feet below us. But we're just flying through the air going, well, this is a nice view. I like this. Yeah, it's kind of nice. And the rocket hasn't quite caught, you know, it's just right now going, and we still have a little inertia before we start going, right? And as we're going down, we'll be going, well, hey, look, I can see the floor better. Look at those pretty trees down there. We're getting closer. Oh, that'll be nice. We haven't quite hit pay dirt yet. So that's where we're at. And so Donnie isn't, the worst thing. He's the devil. No, he is just a symptom of what it is. He was, put there because he's a megalomaniac, hedonist, nihilist, all about me kind of guy, and therefore he's a miserable schmegma, And I feel sorry for the guy because he would throw his kids under the bus. That poor 10, I guess the kid's older now, so he's like maybe 14, 15, Barron. And there was a book written in the 1890s called The Amazing Journey of Baron Trump, right? And it was like something straight out of Back to the Future, in that everything that the kid, the carrot Pinhead's son is going through is in that book that's over almost 150 years old. So you should go look that up. It's online. The Amazing Journey of Baron Trump, right? Or young Baron Trump. And it's quite interesting. And it's told from the story of John Trump, which was the carrot Pinhead's uncle, his daddy's brother, who was one of the cornerstone linchpins of this new world order via technology. He was at MIT when Tesla died. He was at the door with the FBI guys listening to when he was going to fall over, and they were the first through the door to go through his papers. And the carrot Pinhead's uncle John went through all of Tesla's papers and picked out the most important ones and took them back to Brookhaven National Laboratory. And then they let the Russians come in, right? And then the Nazis. And because they're all connected, they're all part of a transnational state. So we've never voted for anyone. We just get the person that we are given. Our senators, congressmen, state legislators, county legislators, city legislature, town the dog head. So nobody votes on those guys. They're just given to us, right? We're down to one, right? And just wondering where everybody is. It's cold, getting cold. That's why I'm wearing my little toot and my little toot. There's my toot and my little scarf for my neck. Anyway, so Donald Trump's Uncle John, and you have to remember that those guys, the Trump family, the patriarchs, all came from Germany. They didn't come from Scotland. They didn't come from Norway. No, they were Nazis, right? And, Donnie's father was the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan in Queens. The carrot pinhead is exactly what he says he is, right? He's more honest than any other. He says what, everyone around him tries to spin and lie for him. And he just comes up, oh, yeah, I fired that guy, just because I wanted the Russian thing to go away. Oh, yes, and I gave all the information. Yeah, oh, yeah, he asked Russians, if you can hear me, why don't you download all of Hillary's servers? And then 2 weeks later, WikiLeaks does it. It's like, come on, guys. It's right in front of our faces, right? And he tells the attorney general to give his buddy a break. Those, talk about justice, right? He goes, oh, this isn't fair. What about the kid who, had an ounce and he has no other priors and he gets 20 years for marijuana, we have more people in jail than all the rest of the world combined. And when that's about we have 6 million people behind bars. Then we have another 100 million people who are felons or are on parole. And they can't vote, they can't get a job, can't go to school, can't get a loan, can't get anything, right? And we are just about to experience, after this next election, Donald Trump plans to take $1 trillion a year out of healthcare and Social Security and food stamps and anything else that might be considered a social service safety net, right? And 1 in 4 people are basically homeless in America. 1 in 4. I am one of them, 1 in 4, right? So I'm just very blessed that I'm always taken care of by my faith and love's co-creation. And I'm always put in a place where I am needed and I help, and thus I, have a place over my head and, but I used to get about $190 in food stamps and now it's down to about $48. And if I was just eating macaroni and cheese, it'd be one thing, but to stay alive, I actually have to eat pretty fresh food, like vegetables and fruits and cheeses and proteins. I don't eat any carbs really because I have diabetes, right? So I try to stay, not the fact, I like bread, but, one slice a day, maybe 2. And that's it. No cookies, no fast food. You know, it's pretty much fruit, salad, eggs, cheese. That's my diet. Jail in America is a business. Yes, it is. The county jail here about 15 years ago in the deep green, the county was offered the choice between a community college and a jail. And the, Chamber of Commerce said, "Oh, we could get it. Let us have a jail, and then everyone could have a job working there." Well, actually, what happened was everyone in the county ended up in the jail, and the jail has one of those jails that has started out as a state, then county, then semi-privatized, and they built an industrial park around the jail, just like the Nazis um, put their once the Allies were bombing their factories, they moved their factories underground right next to the concentration camps, and that's what we're doing, right? And so there are all these factories, and those guys in the Chamber of Commerce have all these guys working in their factories for 2 cents an hour. And they're charging them for transportation, food, bedding, um, toothpaste, and medical care. So when they get out of jail for their nonviolent, something of like a traffic ticket or you know, not paying this or that, um, they owe the jail thousands of dollars, and then they go back to jail and basically are a slave. And that's kind of where it's going, right? And the thing about, you know, the illegal immigrants, well, most of them were usually semi-legal because they would come into America and be pickers of food and fruit and work at jobs that nobody else wanted to do, like work on the chicken assembly lines. And then they would go home. They would make some money and go home. And they weren't taking the jobs that went away from the white man were taken away by Bill Clinton and NAFTA, and little Ross had it, you hear that second sound, right? And the other thing that took labor away from the union worker were robots. And, we lost more to automation than we have to, you know, things going offshore. Now, capitalism, allegedly, the concept is that corporations kind of compete for product, right? And thus they end up competing for labor, and their need of labor will cause the the value of the labor to go up. Well, the value of the labor has gone down since 1980, right? Since Ronald Reagan. Actually, since 1972, when we had the oil embargo, which was quite a disruptive, depression, and the cities went, Detroit, New York, Philly, Boston, DC went bankrupt, and they were only came back after their municipalities were sold to corporations. New York City was basically sold to Disney, right, and General Electric, and so that's where we are. And it's not like this isn't, you know, the same as it ever was. It always is. It's like the French Revolution. So, and basically, when off with their heads of Louis, those guys were just, again, the poster children, because the real power was in the hands of the bourgeois. And they, Madame Defarge was knitting the names into her scarves. And, that's what's going on today. Everything's being documented, by the, you know, this little device is called surveillance capitalism, right? So everything, there's enough computing power now that everything on the internet is saved, you know? And that's why I keep telling, I know AI is the first to show up, within the first 30 seconds, bingo, there's one person watching, and it's AI. And hey, there's been no thumbs up. Come on, let's see some thumbs up, right? Let's get some more subscribers. Come on, let's get this thing going viral. Oh, you know, AI, go tell your overlords to hire me. They need rebranding. And they don't need to do another dark age. The guy who did, you know, Star Trek, he tried to offer an alternative aesthetic, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I have you guys a live chat here, the cadre, to put forth as the collective consciousness the boundaries and dynamics of this understanding of the alternative aesthetic, right? And, if people would, in your own neighborhoods, you don't have to come to, Mecca, you don't have to visit me. You can if you want to, a bunch of highly motivated folks who want to take this on the road and where it could be the Dharma bums of 2020, I'd be up for it, Been there, done it, but I'm ready to do it again. That's one thing I would, I have experience of it to know this is a better way to go and this is not what we should do. So, so I'm old enough to have a lot of experience, but I used to, have a lot of folks want that experience, and I made a nice living at sharing that, but now no one seems to care. Once I got myself semi better, I got my little black book out and called up some of my clients and said, "Hey, I'm back. You got any work for me to do?" And they all said, "Oh, I thought you were dead." I said, "No, not really. Just kind of dead, but I eked my way. Oh, that's good. But no, Al, we replaced you with an app. So the thing that AI has, gotten into more than almost anything else is law. Because AI is perfect for something that is the same thing all the time. And law has these books and these rules, and AI will make the decisions much better than humans can. And the powers that shouldn't be like it because they can just twiddle the knobs a little and move the goalposts of the laws, not change the laws, not have to go through legislation, but just how they're administered. And that's what the Carrot Pinhead has been doing. I mean, he hasn't been doing, but his administration has been taking apart government and remaking it. But he is the thing that he will probably affect the most. He has put more, there is the Supreme Court and then the appellate courts. He has put in over 300 judges in appellate courts. And that's where most of the decisions are made, not in the Supreme Court. Only the very few things get to the Supreme Court. Most of it gets done in the appellate court. And so he's replaced almost half of the appellate court with people who don't even have law degrees. But they believe in Jesus and they believe in getting rid of Roe v. Wade, and they believe that anyone who doesn't look like them are inferior, and they're going to make it lockstep and legal, tome that fascism is constitutional. Well, it always has been from our founding fathers because those guys were the biggest schmegmas there were. I mean, George Washington, he lied through his wooden teeth. He came from a very well family. He was very Anglo, right? He served the king in the French and Indian Wars. He basically did that so he could get property from the king. He was a surveyor, so he could steal everyone's property. Say, I measured this line on this side, it's mine, right? He had slaves, lots of them. He never gave them up, Jefferson was a little, betwixt and between because he was, having sex with them. And, they were like his, it's like having sex with your dog. And, did these guys really write these amazing documents? And, the Constitution is just a contract. The amazing document is the Bill of Rights, and also the amazing was, the Declaration of Independence. That is the most amazing document, right? I don't know if Jefferson wrote it or if he was on acid when he wrote it. One, was it Ben and him were smoking the pipe and doing some mushrooms, and they wrote, that. So, It's and we keep rewriting history. Like the Broadway play. One of the what was it, Hamilton. Where they danced and sang through. The making of the sausage of our uh, our little thing here. And the real beauty of America is its diversity and the fact that everyone gets really squished really hard and it turns them into diamonds and really amazing things come out of the United States, art and music and great athletes and great inventors and just a great population. And the worst part of uh, our population is our leadership class, right? So here we have little Nicky who's going to buy the presidency. I mean, the carrot head just was put there, meaning he didn't do anything except. I mean, if you go watch him do a C-SPAN, you can pull up the carrot head's you know rallies, and he's unintelligible. He makes no point. He doesn't stay on there is no message except he and if you put Carrot Head's rallies next to Adolf Hitler's rallies and look at them, they are the same. Now they're not same thing. They don't have the same ideology, almost, but he's saying it in German, he's saying it in English. If you have the translation, it's like, oh my God, because they're both unintelligible, like and yelling, right? And so that's where we're at, gang. Hey, again, it's a window of opportunity. If you go through it to the other side, we have the potential to really evolving our spiritual sense. If not, we can be looking at another 900 years of the Dark Ages. And, we've been through it before. We've had calamities. And if you really look at, you don't even, I had access to lots of books that most people and documents and things that most people don't get to look at, right? So I have that. But the majority of what's going on is right in front of us. It's not even, I mean, Donald, Carrot Head Pinboy, um, he's like, he is, George Washington. I cannot tell a lie. He can't lie. I mean, it's, he lies about everything to the point where he's not lying. It's just the most weirdest of weird, but it's same as it ever was. Look at LBJ. That guy was the biggest magma slime ball you can imagine. So is Jimmy Carter. Who thunk it? And Richard Nixon, Dick Cheney. And those guys just keep coming back. Dick Cheney and Rumsfeld are the Bush family are the gift that just keeps repeating like a bad meal. And yet, as Franklin and Thucydides said, we get the politicians and political structures we deserve. Meaning, we're not doing anything to change it, except, I had a friend today, I was visiting them, and, I was cooking them a meal because, all they eat is, you know, macaroni and cheese, and it's killing them. And so I go in and steam vegetables and give them rice, and they get that. So I come in and cook it for them. And so I was in there, and I was watching, C-SPAN's book thing because they were downstairs watching TV, and it came running up and goes, and he changes the C-SPAN channel to Fox, where Carrot Head was at Daytona, right? He goes, the president's going to lap the first lap in Daytona. And I thought they were going to put Carrot Head in one of those Daytona cars where they have to kind of crawl in. And I thought he'd be wearing a helmet and a crazy suit. But no, he was in his usual presidential tank and he was surrounded by 20, Secret Service cars, so no one could pick him off. I mean, and you couldn't even tell he was in the car because the glass was so black. And then they had shades that pulled down, and the windows were black, and you could kind of just see the grayness of the shades. So you couldn't see him. I mean, who knows who was in that car, you know? And they didn't show him getting into the car, or driving up and then him getting out and waving at everyone. He kind of just drove onto the track, and the president is coming on, and everyone's cheering and waving their red hats, and so was my friend. And I said, well, this is great. I love this, but I wanted to see him in one of those cars, with a helmet on it. Because he wanted to do that. They wouldn't let him. I said, they wouldn't let him do it. He can do whatever he wants. It's not that come on. And I said, well, it's great. He goes, I'd love to see him be president for another 10 years. I said, well, no, he can, by law, only have 4 more. He goes, no, I'd vote for him again. I said, you don't have to worry about that. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, he's going to be the last president. He goes, what do you mean last president? Yeah, he's going to be he's going to make himself emperor. It's just going to be just like Star Wars, where the president of the Galactic Federation, said, okay, we're going to have an empire now. We got all these terrorists. We got to make some changes here, and I need more power to fight them, and we got to spend more money on Death Stars, and we're taking all freedoms away. But you can still have the freedom to drink and beat your wife, and those freedoms were still there. And so that's kind of where we're at. We're Lucas is pretty, for as smolchy as his movies were, they were really, again, another one of these canaries in the coal mine of telling us what's going on, right? So there's still 2 of you there. Come on, let's have some comments, right? What do you think? Am I talking through my shoes? It's my little picture. What do you think of what I'm saying? I love some feedback. I'd love comments. Come on, you guys, never comment. The only people who comment at the end of these shows are, pinhead trolls. And the fact that I just bop them out of here and ignore them and don't even bother with them, they kind of have been leaving me alone. Every now and then they jump in and try to say something stupid, which is easy for them. But I just, as soon as, I'm, again, very trusting. And when they come on, I give them the shadow of the doubt that maybe they might be somebody interesting. Because there've been a lot of, when I first started off, there were a lot of upset, angry people, and they kind of stumble across me and would say really harsh things. And people, give me the wrench, let's get rid of this guy. And I would say, no, he's not. He's only expressing him or herself. And so, no, I'm not going to wrench them out of existence. If they say something stupid, nasty, and or, not relevant, yeah, maybe I'll push one of those little dots on the side, but not until then. So I would give everyone the shadow of the doubt and let them keep going. And they got to be the cadre. And they got to be some of the most prophetic members of the cadre to say some pretty interesting things. And so that's, come on, guys, make some comments. Artists, let's hear something from me, buddy. Zero, shake it up, Yep. Ridiculous laws of sentencing, right? And, this present administration, came in saying, we want to get rid of all of the Obama regulations that were so lax. And, we want to put people who have 3 joints in jail for the next century, but now, the guy who lied to the Congress, lied to the FBI, tried to change the minds of people on a jury by threatening them with violence. And all of those were proven, shown, and he went to court, and the jury found him guilty. And, he could get 70 years, and they were only going to give him somewhere between 7 and 9. That's a lot less than 70. And, Orange Pinhead said, oh, this is terrible. And then Barr, was saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to involve myself and tell those guys to, either give them no time or very little time or just wear an ankle bracelet or something. Never in these, laws has that occurred. The Attorney General of America got involved on a case form and asked for leniency. Never. Then Barr goes and says, oh, it's an everyday thing. I do it all the time. No, never. And, no, sorry. And so it's just getting on a level of ridiculousness. So then Barr goes, I'm not going to let the president bully me. I'm sure they talk to each other. Hey, we gotta have a little show, little theater here, and have you, okay, zero. Left wingers, right wingers, they're all the same. Exactamundo. Lying through their teeth. Yes, unbelievably. You watch MSNBC and Fox, they're right next to each other on the channels on the TV here. I just switch back, and it's like amazingly how ridiculous they both are. They believe in nothing but power. Democrats are as big snakes as Republicans. Democrats were 99% of the slave owners. Yep, blue dog Democrats, yep. And what we need is a people's party. And now, that's what Bernie should have said, not say, I'm a socialist Democrat. And he's part of it too, because he's going along with it. He's getting paid. He should be president right now. But in actuality, he didn't want to be, right? So he let Hillary steal it from him in California with the superdelegates. And then she was the only person that could lose to, Carrot Head, right? And the Democrats are going out of a big slush of, and the only reason they had so many people running for president was it watered down Bernie's things, because people want a real change. Bernie's the only guy who's pretending to offer change. And, what he's offering, no, And, there have been many times we could have had, who was going to give us single payer health care? Richard Nixon. Who started the EPA? Richard Nixon. Who started, the thing of protecting people's money in the bank? Richard Nixon. Because he had to do it, because he got us off the gold standard. And the only way he could get people like the Rothschilds to bank, the American dollar was to sell off, the municipal, powers that shouldn't be to the Rothschilds. Like, all the utilities are owned by the Rothschilds. He's run them into the ground. After 9/11, you'd think you'd harden. Meaning, if those chuckleheads allegedly who flew into all those buildings, they really wanted to hurt us. All they had to do was fly, and they came right down to Hudson and flew right by the Indian Point nuclear power plant, which is the oldest still working, because that thing should have been shut down in 1970, but Mr. Reagan just signed an executive order saying that nuclear power plants could stay open as long as they wanted to, as long as they could. Not that they had to be safe or live up to any standards. They kind of threw the NRC right out the window. So, and turned it into the energy department. So, it's a house of cards. It's amazing that it's still standing up, our economy, our government. And that's why I'm pretty sure that the Carrot Head is going to be, the last president, right? And that's why we had, Lucas, got paid to make these movies to give everyone, a psychic bump on what to look for in the near future. Just like Steven Spielberg is another one of these, prophetic filmmakers that are, giving us things to be put into our little head. As he made the movie that Stanley Kubrick was going to make, AI, and Stanley died. And Stanley died when he was finishing up Eyes Wide Shut, and Stanley was one of the only people in the movie industry that could make the movie he wanted to make. No one could touch it. And the reason he did that is that he did the fake moonwalk, right? Now, it's not that we didn't go to the moon. It's the fact that we went to the moon in 1939, and we built the dark side of the moon and the other sides of the moon out to make it look like Disneyland. And they have this invisible paint stuff. So when people try to look at it through their telescope at home, they just see grayness and rocks. But there's a lot of, in essence, the moon is an artificial satellite. Joseph Campbell, that's the boy I was thinking of. Joseph Campbell gave the script to George Lucas. And it's, that all of Star Wars is straight out of the mouth of Joseph Campbell. And so he told them the story of our solar system, right? And that it was a mighty empire about 500,000 years ago, and there was a gigantic war. That big scar across Mars that goes from one side to the other was, they had a Death Star, and there was a gigantic planet in the middle of our solar system, which was the central, imperial hub of our solar system. And the Death Star rolled into the neighborhood and blasted that planet into bits. And the Oort belt, or where all of the big rocks are hanging out in our solar system, is they kind of swept all the leftovers of that planet over there, and the energy stream blew up the planet, went right through, and hit Mars and made that gigantic scar. If you go read Joseph Campbell's Myth of the Hero, kind of tells that story. And all this stuff is, right there in front of us. And then they make movies about it, and millions of us go watch it. And then we buy the lunchbox and the T-shirt, That does sound like an interesting theory. Yep, exactly. Don't believe a word I say. I'm just your griot. I just tell you stories, And so our moon up there is the Death Star. It's the only moon in our solar system that doesn't move around. We see the same side the same, it doesn't move, right? Stays in the same place. Anyway, so we've been there a lot. And so, and the other thing about it, if you go online and go to NASA and go look up all the moon photographs, right? Go look those up, right? Now, the moon has no atmosphere. Ergo, there's no dust or any particles that cause light to be, reflected and put all over the place. Like our planet, we can see stuff because light is bouncing all over the place. On the moon, there's one source of light, the sun, and it comes straight down like a laser beam, and everything is brighter than bright. And anything that doesn't get hit by the sun is darker than dark. So there's just dark and light. There is nothing in between. And photography needs something in between to get what is known as depth of field, right? So if you go to the NASA website and look at all of the pictures that they had, and they got thousands of them because the astronauts had Hasselblads attached to their spacesuit at their chest. Well, because they had this space helmet on, they couldn't look down. But every one of these pictures is in crystal clear focus, and also depth of field like you can't believe. And not only that, the pictures are, have an arrangement like a real photographer took this picture, not some guy in a spacesuit who had gloves who could barely push the button, right? And couldn't adjust or focus or do any of the above, right? And they didn't in those days that, in the divineness of NASA technology, they didn't have autofocus on those Hasselblads. They didn't have not like your smartphones of today. So all those great pictures that you see on the NASA website, were done by a photographer, right? On the set of, you know, the fake moon landing, right? And so they got Stanley to do this. And part of his deal was that from that point on, because he made, Lolita and a few other Paths of Glory and a few other films and Spartacus in the 50s. And, he just had a hard time with like all directors have, their movie gets cut to crap, right? And so, you know, um, Stanley made a deal. Okay, I'll do this moon thing because he was the most technically adroit director, that could do it. And you can see, so he did the fake moon shot at the same time that he was doing 2001. And to this day, no one has made a better space movie than 2001 because he got the jobs of doing the moon thing, right? The moon gets up to 30% bigger when it rises than when it's at the center of the sky. They say it's because of atmosphere, particular on the sky, but the sun never appears bigger. Exactly. Really good. Very observant. It always looks the same. Exactamundo. It's an artificial satellite. And to stay in its point of reference, it kind of goes up and down, just like all our other. They have an apogee. That's what it's called, an apogee. You have a satellite. It's an apogee, an artificial satellite, right? So all I can say is, don't believe a word I say. I just am your griot who tells you stories, so you go, that's interesting, So, so Stanley got to make, and every movie after that. Like, so Stanley's doing 2001. Metro Golden Mayer is making it, right? And it's the most expensive movie of the year, right? It cost, something to the order of $20 million to make that in 1960, whatever. And that's like today spending 200 million or 300 million on a movie, right? And so someone asked the president of MGM, so what's going on with this, 2001 movie? And the guy, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What's it about? I don't know. You're spending $20 million, most money ever spent on any movie that you've ever spent. The most, like every other movie you're making this year is like less, or put them all together, it's less than $20 million, and you don't know anything about it. They're doing it in England. I really, you're not watching any of the rushes or any of the cuts. No, I don't have a clue. Obviously, that was part of Stanley's little deal, that he could make any movie he wanted and no one could touch it. No one could cut it up. He had total final say, everything, right? Everything about his movies. So every other movie, every Full Metal Jacket, Doctor Strangelove, The Shining, Clockwork Orange. These were all movies that normally would never be made and are really strange. And they made money. They were, because he's an amazing filmmaker. So yeah, all his films. And he didn't make hundreds of them. He made like less than 20 films. And the last two of his career was Eyes Wide Shut, which was a movie he was going to show, hey, this is what the ruling class is, right? And so they offed him, because he shot the whole film. He was in the midst of editing and he died. And then they cut the crap out of it to the point where it makes no sense. Have you ever seen that movie? It makes no sense. There are scenes in it that, there is no continuity to the film. Someone's just taken chunks out of it all over the place. So there's that. And then AI, which he wrote and was going to do, because he died, he was in post-production of that while he was finishing up Eyes Wide Shut. And then so Spielberg did it. And what did they got? They got a 9-year-old as the smartest computer in the universe. And he goes through thousands of years looking for his mommy. And that's the story. And that wasn't the story that, what's his name was going to tell. Stanley was going to tell. So that's right in front of us. Everything is right in front of us, but all of us just want to stick our heads in the sand and say, "Oh no, I don't want to think about it." All my brothers and sisters, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't, and yet they will. They all have their beliefs. My one sister's born again Christian. She don't want to talk about politics, but she talks about Christian. We have to have laws that protect my right to keep other people, Muslims from having their religion because my religion is more important. My brother thinks everybody should. Whoever dies with the most stuff is the winner, and my other sister is basically kind of shell shocked, and my other brothers and sisters are dead. And but pretty much they all had, they all want to just say their belief and have no. So I don't tell anybody, I just give them little, so how you doing, Al? And I tell them little stories about, being homeless and having to deal with the healthcare issues and watching this and seeing that and they don't, after a while, oh, I don't, gotta go. They don't want to hear it, and pretty much most people don't want to hear it, right? And even the people who used to pay me to go to political things and give them insights on what's going on, most of them have been or dead, died in car crashes or overdoses or unexplained deaths. And I never wanted that for myself, so I never joined the club, right? But I was close enough to observe it and was paid to observe it. And I am always have been an interesting individual. So, that's just Al, so I'm not a threat to anybody. But I'm still, I thought they could replace me with an app, Gandalf the White, based on the red pill. Yep. Gandalf the White. And I liked Gandalf the Gray. He always smoked pot. Gandalf the White gave up the pipe, but Gandalf the Gray always had his pipe. He was always puffing away. He was like Tally, right? In South Park. Just a little bit, right? So, based on the red pill. So the red pill is you saw reality, or the blue pill was you saw reality? Red pill was you stuck your head in the sand. You went back to dreamy dreamland. Right? My dreamland is really dreamy dreamland. It's like the double negative, right? So instead of putting your head in the sand, you're popping your head out and seeing behind the dream. Pipe weed led me to all my worst mistakes in my life. I had to quit. Me too, right? What I do like to do, did you ever see the 70s show when they're sitting in a circle and you don't see them smoking, but the cloud of smoke, and as the camera goes around on the Lazy Susan, every time they go around the circle, the people just get stupider. There is something to be said about being a little bit stupid. But you got to, choose your place of being stupid. Not every day, Smoking every day is not a good idea. The other thing is, like I said, tally just a little bit. Because back in the day, when I was, somewhat really prolific in all the different things I did, my first wife really liked party favors. And because I was, working in the recording studios and rock and roll and theaters, we would go to, parties, and she liked that. And me, I liked doing it with her. I could never do anything except herbal things, right? Any synthetics would just make me sick. Couldn't, so I was very blessed by my body not liking anything that was stepped on or chemically manufactured. So just herbally things, and that was, and only very little bits. Just a little bit was enough to kind of unlock my creativity. Anything more, I would become stupid. Anything after that, I'd just get stupider. So If I did do it, I made sure I didn't go anywhere, didn't drive a car, didn't get involved with anything except sitting around on the couch laughing at other people, right? So that can get pretty boring. So I'm like you, Gandalf. I, don't, really do it a lot. And, I'm getting old enough, and my lungs have always been some of the weakest part of my body. So, you know, if I'm at a party, if I'm with some interesting people and there's something tasty, a few puffs, right? Just to get a little bit stupid to laugh with the folks around me. But as a daily thing or looking for it or buying it or any of the above, not even close, don't even want it, And, but if I'm at something interesting and that might help, change the peripheral, then that's okay, But as a everyday, as a part of my life, as something that's, I really want to do, no. I got more, I got books to write. I got, you know, shows to do. I couldn't do this if I was puffing, I'd be looking for potato chips, and that's the other thing, I can't do that stuff because I got to keep my weight, I got to keep losing weight, I got to keep eating just vegetables and, not Fruit Loops and not cheese doodles and not pastries and none of the above. That'll kill me, one slice of bread, not too bad, one tortilla, not so bad. But mostly I have to eat, mostly I have soups, when you don't have any teeth. Soup is a good alternative. And stews. I'm a stew and a soup kind of guy. Let's see. Red pill is waking up. Okay, to reality. Blue pill is going back to sleep. Gotcha. That is true, Zero. Vibes of truth. Okay, we got 4 folks here. So what's shall we all agree that limited use of mental stimulants is okay, overuse not so good. And when we say limited, just a little bit, right? And also in the right place, the right time, not all the time, or when you're young, you can be stupid. Older, no, But there is a time and a place to giggle. And so, and I don't like doing it by myself. I like sharing it with people, like, especially people I like, So, poison is in the dosage. Yep, exactly. And the 60s were a good time to play around with all that stuff. I was young, I had access. It was interesting. But my body, even then, didn't like synthetics, right? And it's like drinking. I've only been drunk 3 times in my life. But boy, when I got drunk, the first time I did it with some prep school friends. We went to the Oak Room at the fancy hotel near the park and got totally blitzed. And they were drinkers, not me. But I got so drunk, I lived, I was like all of 5 blocks from my house. I spent the last 6 years in that neighborhood. I knew it, knew every brick, and I couldn't find my way home from not the Waldorf Astoria, but the other one, the one that Pinhead owned for a while. But anyway, I knew not to try and just walk on the sidewalk because I'd probably be thinking I was walking on the sidewalk when I was walking on the street and get hit by a bus. So I was walking against the buildings like this, my face facing the bricks, and I was just moving along so I wouldn't end up in the street getting hit by a bus. So I was, I had no idea where I was, and I was doing this, and I thought I was going down the street, but I made a turn and I went down an alley. And in New York City, before they had the big dumpsters that garbage trucks would just come and pick up and throw in the truck, they had these metal cans that were in the ground, and they had a metal door. Stepped on and sing, the metal door would come up and you throw the garbage. And the garbage man would pull the metal can. And that's way the rats couldn't get at the garbage, right? So I was walking down, this alley going like this, and I stepped on one of those things, and the lid came straight up like this, and there was no can in the hole. And so my other foot went down the hole, and the lid, which was standing straight up, went between my legs and got me. And I fell down like losing, and vomiting and being totally messed up, and fell down into where the can should have been. And so the next morning, I fell asleep down there. And the next morning, a Chinese guy came out from the restaurant, had a big garbage can full of garbage, and he dumped it on top of my head. So I was like covered in, onion rings and used napkins and soy sauce and lots of other food bits. And I made it back home, about 9 in the morning. And I had, my parents lived in a super fancy it's almost like a hotel. It was an apartment building. It was called what was it called? The Manhattan House. And it was like very 1950s George Jetson. The lobby was all glass and had, you know, the lobby was set back. So it actually had a thing your car could drive in. And they had like a super duper sexy roof going so you wouldn't get wet when you got out of your car and walked through the door. They had a doorman and they had a concierge, right? Where you could get your mail. So you didn't have a mailbox. So you had your mail in packages and stuff like that. And then they'd have people to carry that stuff up to your apartment for you. And they had automatic elevators, but they had an elevator operator to push to the button, right? I had been living in this, my parents had been living in this place for about 6 years. And so, I was at prep schools and I was, out on my own. But I would come home what I would do, I would come home every Friday and I'd leave my laundry at the desk and I would go up. My grandma would be upstairs and she'd be making real good Italian food for Friday dinner. And we would have our dinner and I'd come back and all my clothes would be washed, pressed, and my shirts would be in boxes. I was coming back and I was covered in food bits and soiled beyond belief and vomit all over me and smelled like vomit and booze and onion rings. And I walked through, and the guys opened the door like, I was the king of England. They didn't even blink. But I knew all these guys, and they were just smiling and chuckling to themselves. And they had marble floors, so my feet were sliding as I was trying to get to the elevator, and my head really hurt. And just a whisper sounded like a megaphone. And I got on the elevator and they were having music, and it was like, oh my God, do, 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 do. Right. And I come in, and I can't get the key of the door. My father opens the door and he's wearing my mom's pink Chanel bank, bathrobe. And he's, making oatmeal and shining his shoes. And I come in, he goes, come on, sit down. And he makes me a cup of tea. And he's just laughing. He said, so how was your night last night? Had a good night, right? Had a lot of fun. I said, I'm just going to go take a shower, go to bed. He said, oh, good, have a good day. And that's what I did. So that was the first time I got drunk. Second two times were even worse and would take longer to tell those stories, so I won't. But I don't drink. I mean, I drink, I like single malt liquor, so I'll have one glass last meal, not long. I can just sipping, I like to sip. I don't want to I sip, just wet my little lips, and that tastes so nice. And I like a nice glass of wine with dinner. And I like wine, but just one or two glasses, and that's it. That's it for me. I don't drink a lot because I don't get a buzz, and I have to drink so much to get a buzz that I become ridiculously drunk. Only once in my life when I did, I started walking home and suddenly the ground jumped up at me. Yep, hit me in the face. Almost broke my nose. Never again. Yep, I landed in a garbage pit. Yep. Yeah, it was here. We have similar paths. Yep. So it's not that I can't. I just have everything I do I do in a limited way. And when I don't, ooh, it bites me, just like the ground jumping up and biting my face. When I lived a hedonist life for 10 years, I gained 250 pounds and it killed me, But I took it as a positive thing that I went through that because I'm not going to do that again. And it taught me a lot of lessons. So, and that's part of tonight's show is, when we make mistakes, if we learn from them, they're not bad, because making mistakes is good if you learn. Most people don't, that's the problem. So, have we decided? Gandalf, zero, truth. So, what do we want to do a guided meditation about? What do you want to go look at? Because it's remote viewing. You can, you want to go visit the guys on the moon. You want to go see the Space Force that's been out there for the last 60 years. You want to see the people who murdered JFK. You want to go see the demigods. Hang out with love's co-creation. Anything individual you want to go have an aspect of looking at. So there's 5 of you there, right? So when we do these guided meditations, usually only the brave stick around, right? So we'll see. Because a lot of you guys, they just love to hear the stories, but not everyone wants to see their own who they are. Not everyone's ready to look in the mirror. That I really, for all of the ickiness that Michael Jackson had, and it wasn't his fault. Man, he didn't have a childhood. He was screwed with from the time he was like 6. So that kid never could, but he wrote some great songs. Man in the Mirror is one of my most amazingly prophetic. I love that song. I hum that song all the time. Do if you want it. And his sister, Miss Jackson, she wrote some great songs too. So anyway, you guys up for guided meditation? I kind of have to hear it from you. Otherwise, I might just call it a day because this would be my third. Oh, now we have 6 people. Okay, why don't we try and do a guided meditation? Okay, everyone get seated, comfy. Like I am right now. I'm kind of in this, kind of lazy boy that kind of goes back. And all you got to do is get in a place where you're comfy, turn off the lights so it's dark, and the only light is me and your screen. And, you turn your phone off, you turn your, anything that would disturb you, kind of muffle or turn off. And I want you to start breathing in through your nose, 20% deeper breath than you normally do. Your autonomic system, you breathe. You don't even think about breathing. Your autonomic system does it for you. But to breathe at 20%, you have to really breathe in deeper and deeper, more. And by doing that, and then breathing out 30%, keep breathing out. By breathing out 30%, you allow yourself a lot easier to breathe in that 20% when you expel and eliminate everything from your lungs. Then you breathe in. Now, to do that, you have to use that conscious mind, that thing that is the squirrel in the Rolodex cage of your brain, the thing that is always talking about, I got to pay how am I going to do that? The thing that keeps running that laundry list of distraction. The way to shut that up is to breathe 20%. That's all you got to do. People, I can't meditate because they can't shut their brain up. But the biological tool to do that is to breathe 20% more. That's it, just 20% more. And to do that, to breathe in that much more, you got to use your conscious mind completely. And by doing that, it shuts it up. right? It makes that squirrel in your brain go to sleep. It no longer is running on the metal, death wheel of the Rolodex, right? So breathe in that 20% and breathe out that 30%. And when you're breathing out that 30%, you're breathing out all the toxin. You breathe out something to the order of 30,000 square cubic feet of breath every freaking day. And if you breathe out that 30%, you're breathing out more toxins, more waste products than when you defecate, urinate, and sweat, right? So you're breathing in the air, and as you're breathing in the air that deep, what happens? It lifts your diaphragm, and it allows the iola, the little sacs in your lungs, to open up, and the little fibers in there gather the prana from your breath. And prana is the energy of Father Sky, right? And what loves co-creation is the amalgam of Father Sky and Mother Earth, right? And Father Sky is the photonic light, the energy of the prana. And Mother Earth is the chi, the balance of the grounding. And so when you breathe in the prana, if it couldn't go anywhere, it would short your body out. So by grounding it into Mother Earth through the chi, it gives you a flow. And that flow creates a through the process of breathing it in and your heart pumping the blood through your lungs, and your lungs that are really, really rich in iron bring the current of that prana into your blood, and then your blood swirls through your veins, arteries, and capillaries, not as blub 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 blub, but it swirls first clockwise against the walls of the arteries, veins, and capillaries, and then inside that swirl is a counterclock swirl that goes the other way, and inside of that counterclock swirl there's another swirl that's going 90 degrees parallax, thus creating a scalar, not Hertzian, but scalar frequency. So your brain, those little brain waves, they are measured in hertz, right? And that is why 5G is such a catastrophic thing, because it works at the same frequency and harmonic as your brain. So they're, all those little antennas that they're sticking up everywhere in everybody's neighborhood is going to not just go into your smartphone or your tablet or your laptop, it's going to go straight in your friggin' brain. And with you breathing in all of that nano dust that they're spraying into the atmosphere, yeah, you're going to have a hard time with that, right? But if you go into state, if you breathe in the prana rather than the nano dust, you can nullify it, right? If you energize your psyche through amalgaming your mitochondria, right? Mitochondria is a doorway into, your free will, and that's what the powers that shouldn't be and the hidden hand is doing, is building a transhumanist grid. The boys who made the movie The Matrix, that's what they were talking about. I mean, not what I'm saying, but kind of making the same visualized moment by moment thing, right, of a hologram. But this thing is more than a hologram, it's straight in your brain. So the only way you can get away from this, right, is to keep your own soul to yourself and not give it away to the 5G, is by meditating, by breathing in the prana and grounding yourself, because you're so grounded to your chi that grounds the 5G right out of you, right? So there's no wearing tinsel hats and funny no. All you have to do is breathe in that 20% and breathe out that 30%. So I want you to focus your breath right now on doing that, right? I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you focus on your breath, right? And visualize you bringing in that prana, and you're going to create that current flow through your blood and bring it into every cell of your body. And Right now, you're seeing in your imaginary mirror because that prana comes into you, and as it energizes through that scalar frequency in your blood, it turns into photonic light in your blood, and it energizes your mitochondria. And if you've ever seen films of a cell dividing, what you see is all these little lightning bolts around the cell, and the lightning bolts basically cause the RNA to zip open, and you're looking straight into the cell as it separates and turns into two new cells, right? So that's what the prana does. It creates life by causing cell separation, turning one cell into two cells, right? Mitosis, right? So, and the thing that causes that is your mitochondria all zipped up with the prana. So when you are consciously breathing, you're putting your conscious thoughts of love's co-creation through the prana into your, RNA and your mitochondria, and so every cell that's being reproduced, billions of them a second in your body, you can affect that. Right. So that's what I want you to focus on right now, and I'm going to turn off the light and let you focus it. Right. And so I'll be back in just a few seconds. I'll be right back almost immediately. I'm going to go get a drink of water. Vitamin C. Okay. you are, nice and comfy. You're breathing in 20%. And you've quieted your, you know, subconscious mind down. You quieted the squirrel, right? I'm going to now count from 1 to 3. And as I do, you're going to go deeper and deeper into a conscious state of relaxation. See that clearly. And 1, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath by breathing in 20% and breathing out 30%. You're breathing in the prana, the life-giving force, the force that animates your bag of water, the avatar of your mud puppet, into, from your soul, your free will soul. That is in a server somewhere, in an undisclosed location. And it's connected through your highest chakras through a golden thread, right? That goes from your highest chakra into your soul, right? See it clearly. And I'm going to count from 1 to 3 state of relaxation, where your body will go on to automatic pilot, right, of your autonomic system, and your consciousness will leave your body, just like if you were to die, your consciousness would leave your body. And now you don't have to be scared because you're not dying, and your autonomic system is running everything nicely, and you just are going to have the freedom to experience things outside the limitations of your mud puppet, right? So see that clearly. So 1, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of conscious relaxation and awareness of being awake to your, consciousness, rather than it just kind of being, you know, just part of your mud puppet, right? Like ghost part. But now your consciousness, your trading places, your mud puppet is becoming, disconnected from your consciousness. And now you're conscious. You're becoming self-aware, right? And not only that, you are by focusing your breath, you are not only being self-aware, but you're being self-actualized, meaning you're doing something to change the position of your existence, right? You are taking over control, You're not, letting the home office of your mud puppet run your existence. See this clearly. See that you can do this, right? This is, you're suspending your disbelief of your ability to be yourself, right? Most of the time you go through life and you let, um, the powers that shouldn't be, the hidden hand, the sand puppets, the usual suspects all manipulate your life, your parents, your church, your school, your job, right? No. At this point, you are in control. And none of that. You are moving further and further away from that, realizing, wait a minute, this is all artificial. This is a joke. This is, this isn't who I am, and I'm presently not a part of it. So why should I let this thing, control my life? See this clearly, feel it, taste it, smell it, realize that you are more than your mud puppet, more than the illusion of your physical self, more than the smell of your crap and your piss, You're more than all of that, right? You're more than doggy do. See it clearly. And 1, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious realization. And you are breathing in that prana and you're illuminating your everything with that energetic force of the scalar wave. And you're creating the photonic light all around you. And you're starting to see things in a different way because there are no shadows. Everything is photonic light, as if you are on the moon, where you can see everything clearly as what they are, and it's all either light or dark. And the dark is, when you close your eyes, you can see the negative image, and the dark becomes light, and the light becomes dark. Just like in the yin yang symbol, you have the event horizon of the sandbox of our illusion of our universe. And then we have the squiggle, which is the path of your life. One side is dark, one side is light, and the light side there's a black dot, and in the uh, white side the dark side there's a white dot. And what that is, those two dots are chaos. And so you need the dynamic of the light and the dark as being the same, just being separated by the squiggly line of the event horizon. And within inside both of those dynamics, there is chaos. Because without chaos, you would just be a couch potato. This gives you actualization, right? Chaos does. It makes you realize you have to manipulate and navigate. More than anything, you have to navigate. You can't just be blind and let stuff get in your grill, that you run into things. No, you have to see them coming. So you can either get out of the way or prepare yourself to deal with them. And then, every intervention is a opportunity, right? So we're staring down the barrel of double 12 gauge shotgun of reality of our politique being totally corrupted, as it always has been, but it's being brought to a hiatus point, and that's kind of had been foretold. Meaning, anyone who knew anything from the mystery schools realized there were these. That's why history always they focus on the dates, because those dates are relevant to the astrological, right? Where the stars and this were at that moment in time, right? And so that's an important, but just a peripheral, just within the construct of the material. That's all. It's not really that important, but it gives a context to the mud puppet reality, right? So you're seeing all of this for the first time. The curtain has been raised to this. Look at all this stuff. I didn't really realize that this was all going on around me, and I'm seeing it for the first time because you're illuminating it with the prana, right? Now you'll have illuminated your whole mud puppet, and you're now at what is known as your imaginary mirror. And that's right behind your eyelids, and that's where you have REM sleep, and that's where your subconscious and your superconscious mind and your id give you imagery that you can, if you are awake enough, you could use as a roadmap to navigate your day-to-day life, right? And that's why I named the show Dreamy Dreamland. Get the picture? It's the double negative of what you experience every night. And it's being awake, Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei. What's sensei? A teacher. Al Bob, that's me, and Al is representation, in the metaphor of the L, big eye, sees everything, knows, wise, sees all the relationships. Bob within the context of numerology of in the Hebrew, is not God per se, but Bob is more the character of a demigod who is more the nice Joker, not the evil Joker who, is in Batman movies, but the guy, the jester, not the Joker, the jester. Joker is a scary dude on Batman, but the jester is the person who lightly kibitzes you to become awake, and that's why the king in the court had two characters. They had the wizard and they had the jester. And usually one individual had both. He just had two hats. He either put on his wizard hat or his jester hat. And if he was playing the jester, he would make fun of the court in a way that people could say, "Oh yeah, I shouldn't take this so serious." Okay, okay, and the wizard was the person through the shamanic alchemy brought in real wisdom to the events of the day. So, okay, we better be looking at this. So that character was in the court, and the jester and the wizard were the only character, and that's usually why it was one guy, who could tell the king, speak truth to power. And the king, if they were a wise king, um, you know, basically would have that character there and would cut him slack, wouldn't like off with his head when he said something he didn't like to hear. Just like, the carrot pinhead fires everyone when they try and tell him something he should really think about, right? But the hidden hand put him there just for that reason, because they wanted him to be the distraction that would destroy the illusion. That's all it was, an illusion of that things worked out okay, that that the courts were fair, that the legislatures were in your court, that the military was trustworthy, that the banks were playing a square game. But Donnie is giving us the 411 of real reality because of his psycho stupidity. And I mean, he's fired more people than the last all the presidents, the other 44 presidents had in their cabinets. He's had more people in his cabinet. So at this very, and if you were in astrology, you would know that we're in a really special place, and that the fact we went through 2012, when the end of the Piscean age ended, and now we're in the Aquarian age, which is you know understanding what you need rather than forcing getting what you want, right? And instead of using violence to get what you want, you use empathy to understand what you need. So, and that's unless we accept this and take it, and if back in 1972, that's why I was at the UN. That's why I was involved in political dynamics, because I felt if and that's why I was involved in the you know environmental thing, because I said all of these problems we have are easily fixed with the technology at hand. But it took me almost 30 years to realize that it wasn't a technical problem or an economic problem or even a political problem or even a religious problem. It was a spiritual problem of consciousness, right? And that's why I started Dreamy Dreamland, to wake people up from their sleep so they could appreciate their dreams. And that's what we're looking at right now in our guided meditation here, because you're no longer in your body. You are, elevated into your consciousness, right? And you're looking around and you're seeing everything illuminated with photonic light. There are no shadows, there are no lies. So you can see everything as what it is. So, what I want you to do is to take that photonic light in your imaginary mirror and shine it into your subconscious. Now, your subconscious isn't a scary place where the monsters hide. Your subconscious is the library of your Akashic record. Your Akashic record is the record of everything that you are, from the moment of the Big Bang to the end of, from the Alpha to the Omega. And in that book, it's there now. So you can see your past, your present, and your future. But your future, because we are in this illusion of a linear world, what you'll see about your future are many, many, many choices. Just, and Dickens laid it out really well in the story of Scrooge, because he saw the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. And the future weren't things that were set, right? They could be changed. He was just given the opportunity to see the potential of what was going to happen if he kept on that same path, right? So, and the best Scrooge I like is the one that Bill Murray was Scrooge, right? And that last scene when he gets it, and he's broken into the onto the set, and he's got the hat, and he's talking about Christmas and what it is. And if you want it, you'll have it every day. And you want it. You don't want to be screwed. You want love. You want to feel love, right? And that's what I'm bringing you to. And most of you, so we had about 8 when we started. We're now down to 4. The brave ones are still here. The other ones ran away, right? So there you are. You're kind of not stuck, but you're in a place that you've never been in before because, you're not in your mud puppet. You're not in your bag of water. You're not in your avatar. You're in your self aware consciousness. And you've illuminated your um, imaginary mirror and shine that light into your subconscious where your Akashic record is. And you're walking into, and it's a library. And there are all these books on all these shelves, and the gigantic books. And you look in front of you, big, big, big fireplace, big enough to drive a truck through. And there is the eternal blue flame going, right? The energy of prana, the eternal flame. And there you are seeing this clearly, and you're looking around, and to your left is your guides, right? Your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. Right in front of you is the big fireplace, right? Those big bricks on bricks, they are actually books, Akashic records. They can't be burnt. They can't be destroyed. They're not made out of just cardboard and paper. They're made out of time space. They're made out of prana, you know? So they are made from love's co-creation. There they are, love's co-creation right in front of you. And then in front of that fireplace is a nice little grouping of lounge chairs so you can have visitors. And there's a little wet bar over there and behind the lounge chairs. But in front of that is your reading table. And in front of that is your reading chair. And coming from above is a photonic reading light. So when you look at your Akashic record, there will be no shadows. Everything will be clear. There will be no hiding, no lying, no cheating, no stealing, because you have photonic, not incandescent light, the light of Lucifer, the liar. No, um, you're not the illuminated one. You're not incandescent. You are photonic. So see that clearly. And 2, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. No longer in your consciousness is no longer in your meat puppet. Your meat puppet is running on autonomic. It's very nice. You're sitting in a chair or lying down or on the floor, but you're in a safe place. You're safe, secure, warm, but you're no longer in your body. And you're in your Akashic record, and you're walking over and you sit down at your reading table, and your librarian, see your librarian clearly, right? And your librarian brings over your Akashic record, and you open it up, and there's 2 blank pages, right? Put your right hand on the right page and your left hand on the left page, and you lean in to your Akashic record, and you open your gab hole, and you eliminate, you evacuate all of the anger, all of the fear, all of the hate, all of the anxiety that's inside of you from your experience of the illusionary world of anger, fear, and hate. And you let it all go. You just get it all out of you, and you put it in your Akashic record. And now it's in the record. It's not in you. It's in the book. And you close the book, right? And you feel light, and you feel cleaned, and you feel fresh, and you feel like you could fly, and you feel happy, and you have tears of joy, and you have uncontrollable sense of, um, uncontrollable love, right? And you feel empathy for all your relations, everything that is all around you. And you are breathing in that 20% and breathing out that 30%. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You've illuminated your body and take that illumination into your imaginary mirror and taken that photonic light into your subconscious, not the scary place, but a library of your soul, of your consciousness, right? That's your Akashic record. And your librarian has bought you your Akashic record, and you've turned to a blank page, and you have evacuated all the hate, anger, fear, and self-loathing into this book. Now open it up now and go back to that page, and now it's a screen, big screen, just like this screen here on my laptop, and you see all of that you've evacuated, all of that anger, fear, self-loathing, anxiety of that day, all the things, the guy taking your parking spot, cutting you off, and the guy yelling at you at your job, your girlfriend or wife giving you a hard time because you gave them a hard time, and you see all of this, right? And because you now have perspective, it's no longer in your consciousness, it's in this book that you're looking at. Like, look at that. Oh, that's why that happened. Oh, I'll never do that again. Okay, I should have said, don't worry about it. I should have not got upset. Look at that moron. Why he said that? Well, it's his problem, not mine. I'm not going to get upset again about that guy. With perspective, when you don't let things get in your grill, but you have perspective, that's when you get realization. So there you're seeing all of this on the screen right in front of you in your Akashic record. And around that screen are 28 little screens. And what that is are the 28 different dimensions of the scalar vortex that allows you to see every angle of what happened, not just the straight on two-dimensional existence of our six senses, because we really don't have three dimensions. We only have up, down, and that's it. And sideways. We don't have depth, we don't have time. All those things are illusions. They don't really exist, right? And what do I do with that? Anyway, so I made chili. I'm regretting it now. New fried beans. They tasted awful good, but anyway, so you're getting all the 411 and all this depth of information. And now it may be out because you're so kidding yourself that, oh, my two-dimensional world is really, 3 dimensions at least. Not really. So you're starting to see this, and, you're seeing things that you didn't ever really see before. So you're starting to go, wow, I didn't know this. And that's what, your Sensei Al Bob, is here to do. Help you see things that you normally don't see. So you can see that you're actually a better person than you think you are. And then once you realize that, you realize your worth being part of the cadre of love's co-creation. Your worth serving love's light in every day and every way, bringing peace to the earth to not only you, but all of your relations, right? And what better thing to do with your life than that? Much better than a stupid job or a stupid relationship or stupid school or any of these things that are motivated by the two-dimension illusion of the material world, right? See that clearly. Right? Now, you're getting a lot of information in, and you're getting a lot of it in ways that you've never seen it before. And you're seeing it under photonic light. So there are no shadows, there are no lies. It's just like straight up, oh my God, look at all this. And So, what you need is your other guide, your animal totem. And your animal totem is also a griot, but specially designed for you in the situation that you're at. I'm a griot that tells a generalized story that all the listeners can get something out of. Your animal totem is there for you specifically. So you see the stuff on the screen in your Akasha record, and you go, wow, what does this mean? You might get confused, you might get scared, you might go back rather than going forward. So instead of going back, just turn to your left and see your animal totem. So turn to your left right now and see your animal totem. Be sure you remember what your animal totem looks like. And remember what your librarian looks like, right? And your animal totem's there. So you've got all this information. Your animal totem's going to tell you a story in a much more, like I said, specifically made for you, but from the construct of the frame of the shaman, right? An indigenous point of view. So they'll tell you a story and you'll go, wow, that's what that means. Okay, now I see it. Oh, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that's why you have your animal totem there, right? To give you that 411. Your librarian brings you the information. Animal totem helps you with understanding it. And your third guide is your guardian angel, who's always got your back. Because if you're told truth that you've never seen before, that can cause anxiety and fear, right? Especially if your only reference point is this two-dimension illusion of the material world. So, the guardian angel, always there to protect you. There's nothing can harm you with and your guardian angel is always with you. I am sure. I know I have experienced many a time where just 1 second was the difference between me being dead and me being alive, right? A good example of this was, I guess I was about somewhere between 25 and 30. And my dentist was off of 34th Street, and I used to take the number 2 train to the station that stops right at the park where the New York Library is, because right on 34th Street and 5th Avenue. And I would take that train because then I could walk the whole block where they had all of these book carols, where everybody and his brother there's some law that allowed, because the library's there, everything from 6th Avenue to 8th Avenue on 34th Street, you can sell books without getting a license or anything. Just a table, put books out, right? So I'm a book guy. So I would, walk in. A lot of people sold some pretty good books there. Books that couldn't be, publishers wouldn't publish, or information that, the average corporate structure didn't want out there. But these people wanted people to know. So the city of New York traditionally let people, because not only was the library there, a lot of guys with printing presses who printed books for people. So that's why this tradition of selling them on 30. So anyway, get off the subway. We stop there. The subway stops 34th Street. Doors open. About 6 people walk out, and I'm with them. I'm like the 7th guy. We all walk out to do together. We all go up the steps, do together. We're all walking down 34th Street, heading, going from, 8th Avenue towards 6th Avenue, do. And I'm stopping at all these book carols. And so we come out of the ground, we're walking, shoulder to shoulder, do. And I stop at a carol, they get a little further ahead. I walk, now I'm like 10 steps behind them, then I stop at another. Anyway, by the time we get to 5th Avenue, they are at least half a block ahead of me, and I'm found an interesting book and I'm reading it. And all of a sudden, I hear this tremendous screech of tires, smashing of cars, and screaming of people, right? And I've had a little training in emergency medical care by this time, and I um, you know, run towards the screaming, and those 6 people that I was with have just been run over by a bus, and it careened and smashed into a book carrel and kept going and wiped out a bunch of people on the sidewalk. The bus driver had a heart attack, and he runs over those people. They had to walk. He just kind of took them all out and then wiped out another 12 or 15 people along the sidewalk before he hit the steps of the uh, library and then turned over. So there were about 20 people in the subway who got really hurt badly. There were about 5 or 6 people who were hurt really badly, who got run over on the sidewalk. 2 or 3 died on the sidewalk. But the 6 people who I got off the subway with and walked up the steps and was shoulder to shoulder until I started reading books in the carrel, they all died. Every single one of them. They were the first 7 hit. He just, and they got not only hit by the bus, but they went under the tires and got, really messed up bad. Just one of those things. It was like a war zone. In 20 seconds, about 9 people died, about 20 people were seriously injured, and another 10 were like messed up but not, left the hospital that day. And so I ran up, and there's blood everywhere. And it was one of those things where I was beyond my meager training at that point. All I could do was, make sure that the cops were called. I went over to a phone booth, hit 911, and said, "Hey, I'm at the corner of so-and-so, and there was a bus ran over. Hey, we heard it. We're sending people." And then what I did was, instead of trying to deal with anybody who was squished, I went to people who had seen it and were in shock. And I had basically got them over by the the hot dog vendor. There was like this little wall around the library that was at a flat thing where you could sit, right? And so I got about 40 people to sit down who were like right in the middle. It didn't get run over, didn't get killed, but the guy right next to him got squished, right? And they got blood on their legs from that, and they were all in like. So I sat them all down, and I said to the guy who saw it, who he was in shock too, the hot dog guy, I said, hey, don't have that much money, but everyone here needs a ginger ale. You got ginger ale? And he said, oh, yeah, sure. And I gave everyone a ginger ale. And I said, you need to sit down too, and here's ginger ale. And because ginger really calms, your system down, right? And the bubbles help, and so does the sugar, right? And then the ambulance, a lot of ambulances showed up. It was really a good response, and firemen, and they scraped everybody off the road, and they took care of the people in shock, right? And that was the best I could do. I knew better than to try and mess with people who were all that messed up, right? So I did a little triage, got the people in shock to sit down so they wouldn't fall down and hurt themselves, and gave them, ginger ale. And so that sugar and the bubbles and the ginger kind of did enough. So they did, kept them from going into shock. So, what protected me? Why didn't I get run over? My guardian angel, right? And so I am sure all of you had something of that manner to happen to you. So it's all going on. So, 2, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. Conscious mind is totally, totally quieted your body down. It's totally on the autonomic system. Your consciousness has separated from your body, and you're no longer in your body. You're now in your Akashic record. You're sitting at your in your library at your reading table, and you have your Akashic record in front of you, and there's a screen. And if you take your finger and run it along the edge of the book, the gold edge of the book, it's like the cursor, the mouse. And what you will see, you can run it all the way to the top, and that's when your spirit came into this universe, right? And you can see what you were, a flake of dust, a moonbeam, you know, and then you can go all the way through, evolution of like dust to dandelion to, you know, ant to whatever, watch your whole, you know, coming through. And evolution isn't so much the biology, it's more the consciousness, right? So see that, right? And through that, you can see that this consciousness has been around in this universe for the 16 or so billion years. And that's been you all along the time because we don't live in a linear existence. It's like Alpha and Emo. So when Lucifer got really pissed off and you had the Big Bang, it was the beginning and the end. And everything in the middle is less than a nanosecond, but you're experiencing it as long as you need, whatever amount of time you need to get yourself adjusted to the fact that you are only thing that exists about your consciousness is love's co-creation, and that this whole existence is not just a linear thing in this universe, but when you ascend your consciousness, you go into other forms, other places in the universe, not just Earth, right? So you can see all of this, right? So I'm going to be quiet right now and let you look at your, Akashic record, see all your past lives, what you came in as, what your potentials are, right? See it clearly, see the lives. Most of our lives are not that important. It's just you're like almost, just passing time. But every now and then you have an experience that is, a real moment that makes a difference in who and what you are, right? So I want you to see all that. All three of you brave ones. The rest of the folk kind of bailed, but see it clearly. And prayer is an important prayer, right? The Lord's Prayer and the Hail Mary are both non-Christian prayers, or prayers that go way, way back. So that's why they're so deep and so powerful. So as you are breathing in that 20% and breathing out that 30%, I'm going to say these prayers, and I want you to say them along with me. You can say the words out loud or not, but let the intent of these prayers, listen to the words. When you listen to these words, you will realize what I always say about good thoughts bring good words, bring good actions, bring good deeds, which bring good outcomes, right? So listen to these words of these prayers. While you're in state, while you're looking at your Akashic record, see what comes up on your Akashic record as you're navigating through all your past lives, right? So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. And in every day and every way, let us take the peace of the earth and serve love's co-creation. So you can bless us indeed and enlarge our territory and keep us, put your hand on our shoulder and keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. See it clearly. And two, You're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation, sitting. Your consciousness is sitting in your Akashic record at your reading table, and your librarian has brought you your Akashic record. See your librarian clearly. Do not forget what your librarian looks like, what your librarian feels like. Feel the energetic of your librarian. Feel it and see it clearly. Remember it. And look at your animal totem. See your animal totem. Feel it, see it, remember it clearly. And see and feel your guardian angel. Always with you, always watching your back. See it clearly. And two, you're in a deep state of relaxation and you feel great. You feel light. You have evacuated all of the hate, anger, anxiety, and fear from your consciousness. The residue of your mud puppet no longer has any access to your consciousness. And when you go back into your avatar, you will be able to keep this sense of your consciousness, the sense of your uh, ascending your self awareness, and the fact that you're attaining your self awareness, right? You're becoming not just self aware, but self actualizing, meaning you are consciously bringing good thoughts into your mind, which bring good words out of your mouth, which bring good actions, which bring good outcomes, which bring good deeds, right? See it clearly. And this is the motif of the new path of your life that you already agreed to traverse. It's just that you've been distracted by the illusion of the material world. See it clearly. And you get up, and so when you walked into your library, straight in front of you was a fireplace of the flame of the eternal flame, right? And all the Akashic records around you. And then in front of that was the nice lounge chairs and the wet bar. And then to your left was your reading table, your reading chair, your reading light, your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. But to your right were and are the 9 doors, right? And one of those 9 doors is open. There is no door, it's just open. And that's the doorway into your superconscious mind, which is a sanctuary of your own choosing. So walk over to that doorway that's open. There's not even a door there. It's always open. Of course, it's your sanctuary. And you walk through the door, and in front of you is a staircase, and you put your hand on the railing, and you walk up the steps, and then you realize it's a bridge. It's the bridge of your id that crosses over, the river of time, and it on the other side of the bridge is your sanctuary of your own choosing, right? So when you get to the top of the bridge and you look into your sanctuary, you're overstanding who and what you are, right? You see the great meadow that you can go and picnic at and have fun on. And in front of it is the great gazebo, these steps that go up to a stage that you'll see things performed on. But if you go up there yourself, you can find out specific questions. It's the gazebo of understanding a question. And then to the south of the meadow is the lake that the river of time runs into. And that's the lake of the great link that we are all linked to. And growing by the side of the lake is the tree of wisdom and the tree of life, right? And when you look down at the roots, you will see little um, rabbit holes. They look like rabbit holes, but they are pathways into worlds that you can go. They're like the back door into worlds, where a lot of those worlds, the front door are those 8 doors that have doors. And when you go through the front door, it's like the folk who reside in those worlds will know you're there. Will be able to jump on your case, right? And screw with you or not. But if you go through a back door, it's like they don't know you're there. And if you go with a guide, a master, someone like Buddha or Jesus, or any a zillion other masters who you can meet through the chimney of, the fireplace of the eternal flame. It's just like in Harry Potter when they would bounce around through chimneys. I mean, everything in Harry Potter kind of is real. Just like everything in the illusionary world is kind of real, right? Just like everything I write in my novels kind of happened, but, kind of like the holy books, based on what happened, kind of, right? But right now, you're walking over the bridge after you've understood everything you've seen, you overstood it. Understanding means someone stepping on your neck. Overstanding means you're above it. No one's standing on top of you, right? So you want to overstand things. So you're walking down the bridge and you're stepping into your sanctuary. As soon as you do, you feel this electric shock of love's co-creation come straight into you. And when you're in your sanctuary, you are, 100% with love's co-creation. Your date, is love's co-creation. So right now, you're stepping down and so you've got the meadow to go have a picnic on. You got the gazebo to watch music and plays and stuff. And you can go up there and ask a question, get an answer, and have another overstanding experience because you're above everything. You can go over to the lake and immerse yourself in the Great Lake or swim in the river of time. Or you can go to the tree of knowledge and go down one of those rabbit holes. And that's what Alice is about, in Wonderland. And she goes down the rabbit hole. I mean, that is basically, the guy who wrote that book was talking about the Akashic Record and all of the metaphors of this mystery school that I am trying to tutor you in. But I'm not there, so we can't do ceremony. So I'm having to do shamanic energetics over the internet, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. I've been looking at a lot of internet, looking at other YouTubers, and I don't really see anybody doing what I'm doing, in an energetic sense. I mean, they talk about a lot of stuff, but they're not energetically there. They're trying to put on, I'm putting on a show. This is a show, right? I'm giving you a hook. But energetically, I set it up so you feel something when you watch this, right? And I think that's one reason why I don't have 20 million folk watching this is because only you brave 300 or so, or you 62,000 who watch it, are brave enough to watch it because it's giving you, a perspective that you normally wouldn't have. You're waking up, right? Not being woke. You're waking up yourself. You're being self-actualized. And that's, you got to be brave and strong to do that. And not everyone is brave and strong enough, especially after millennia of being, messed with by the hidden hand, through your diet, through the media, through every kind of scam there is, right? So, yes, Om Shanti Shanti Om. So you're in your sanctuary, and I want you to go have a good time, and I'm going to put the get out of the frame and let you and love's co-creation have a date. Go see movies, go dancing, go play polo, go swimming, go do whatever you want with love's co-creation. I want you to get intimate with love's co-creation. I want love's co-creation to always be there in you, you know, and not allow yourself to be assuaded by the illusion of a material con game. Okay? So, okay, guys, I'm going to just put this guy down here and let you have a good time. Go have a good time. I'll be right back. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. And you have illuminated your subconscious and brought yourself into your Akashic record, your library of your soul's existence. And you are feeling your consciousness, your self-awareness, and you are not only self-aware, but you are self-actualizing in this process, right? So you've just had a great long 2 or 3 week vacation with love's co-creation. You've explored your sanctuary of your own choosing, and you have seen the meadow, the gazebo, the river, the lake, the great link, river of time. You've seen the tree of knowledge, the tree of life, and then south of that is the circus, where you see the circus of life, and you above the circus is the lodge of the Oracle of Delphi, right? And you go up there, and it is the house that Frank Lloyd Wright built in Pennsylvania that he's very famous is called Falling Water. It's really large, right? A lot bigger than that. I mean, it's a big house, but this is big because it has great expansive, great, um, long hall, right? And an eating dining hall, and the hedgerow longhouse for everyone to come together and conference. And you have your own personal lodge in that house, right? And you see it all. And again, on the right hand, you have the coat rack room, which is like your guides, but for everybody. Everybody hangs their guides up in the coat rack room. And on the right hand side, they're the nine doors there, right? But those nine doors are all kind of closed because they're all dealing with mystery schools and esoteria and the occult in a deep sense in those worlds. There's you know, the land of the dead. There is the land of there are many lands there in those nine closed doors. And again, you need to find a good guide to take you there, and you normally can find that in the fireplace in your own lodge. And in your own lodge, there is a shortcut from your lodge into your Akashic record. Instead of having to go all the way over the bridge and all there's just a doorway that goes from your lodge into your, you know, Akashic record, right? So see all of this clearly, right? See it clearly. And three, I'm going to give you another respite to go spend another 4 or 5 weeks of vacation time in your sanctuary. And I am going to just sit here and meditate myself. And this will give you the realization that time doesn't exist because you're having these, 2, 3, 4 weekend vacations that in your, you know, sanctuary of your own choosing feels like weeks, months, but in that clearly that time is irrelevant and that it's very flexible. And when you're self-aware and self-confident and self-actualized to serve love's co-creation, you can bend anything and navigate in any way you want. See it clearly. Because the only thing that gets in your way is your ego. And when you're serving love's co creation, you have an egoless ego. You don't serve yourself. See it clearly. And three, you're in a deep state of relaxation. You've just experienced a 2 month vacation and seen other lands that you've never even knew existed, and realized through your Akashic record you can remote view. When you hear about people remote viewing, this is the process that they use. Now, people define it in different ways. This is my little metaphor. I take lots of different metaphors and put them all together. But this is pretty much, I didn't invent this. I just kind of discovered it, right? And I didn't discover it on my own. I had great teachers who brought me here and showed me. And that's why I am your sensei, Alba, because I am sharing the kind of knowledge that was shared with me with you. But I'm doing it over the internet. I'm not doing it in a hogan, or I'm not doing it in a sweat lodge. I'm not doing it on top of a mountain or in the middle of a desert. I'm doing it in your living room over your phone, laptop, or tablet. And but it's the same experience, right? And if you put the energetics of an adept into this, you're going to get a lot out of it, right? So again, another moment of meditation. And with this meditation, appreciate, give thanks, put grace into your heart. And grace is strongest asset or tool or ally is gratitude. And gratitude's greatest ally is empathy. So when these allies are at your side, you can overcome anything and accomplish anything. See it clearly. And the best time to practice this is before you go to sleep, you get into bed, you, again, start breathing at 20%, breathing up 30%, relax yourself, you're comfy in bed. You take all the anxieties, all the trials and tribulations of the day, you evacuate all of that anger, fear, anxiety, self loathing into the book, and then put it away, close it up, and say, I'm going to go to sleep now, and I'm going to have a long, restful rest, and I'm going to remember, I'm going to have, if you want to, you can dream about anything you want. And you tell yourself, I want to dream about this, that, or the other thing, and I want to remember it, right? And the first thing I'm going to do is, it'll be in my Akashic record, so I can go back and look at it there. But I will also grab my smartphone, hit record, and go, wow, I just had a dream about blah, 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 blah. Now it's on your cell phone, and you can get up and at your own leisure, you go back and listen to it because your subconscious is wired to your mouth. People say, oh, you got to write your dreams down. Well, you really can't, but you can speak to them. And that's when I was a shrink. I said, so what do how'd you sleep last night? Okay. You dream about anything? Oh, yeah, I just dream about, and then they would tell me. But it's already been, you know, half a day that from that point. But when you do it first thing, all amount of um, specifics will come out, and it'll just come right. Wow, blah 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 blah. And it'll now be on your cell phone. You go back at your own leisure and you play it back. And because it's on your cell phone is recording, you can stop it. You can go back. You can pause it. You can go forward. You can listen to it. And this is when you write it down, because in school, when we took notes, we didn't take them to remember things. You took notes to understand, because Freud called it a gestalt, lightning understanding. You hear something, you write it down, you go, wow, that's what that's about. Wow, I understand it. Now I see it. And I had a great math teacher in seventh grade. He would do this with me. When we would do theorems, when I would work them out, he would say, okay, now I want you to think about it and speak to me about how you thought about thinking about that theorem, right? What you're thinking about, right? And I would, and then he would write it down, and then he would read it back to me, and I would write it down, and I go, wow, that's why I didn't get this. That's why I got that. That's why this was so simple and this was so hard. And that's what you can do with your own life. This is called, Gestalt therapy, or lightning understanding, or self-actualization, right? So see this is when you practice, when you go to sleep and when you wake up. And once you get good at going into state, whenever you're going through your everyday and you get stressed out, you can just, okay, well, I got to sit down here, and you take that breath in and then breath out. You go into state, and you will see how everything fits together. Then you come back out. Now, you may have just spent 15, 20 minutes to 5 hours in state putting things together. But when you come out, you realize you've only had your eyes closed for about 3 seconds, right? And when I worked, that was one of my greatest tools when I was a negotiator. All cacophony and people screaming at each other. I would just sit there, go into state, and feel everyone's energies and see all their fears and all their anxieties. And I would take my little phone when I came back, and I would speak into the phone about this, in a way that they couldn't really hear. And then I would go on. I would have perspective. I would see it, and I would work on it. And I would constantly make little notes into the tape recorder. And then at night, and I would, one of the other little things I did is that when I would negotiate, people, instead of being out of the boardroom, I made them sit in really crappy chairs and have little, you know, TV dinner tables, because they were rich. They expected to be, sit at the great walnut chair and have these mahogany tables and have food for them and coffee. No, they had nothing except a crappy folding chair that was 20 years old and pinched their butt. And, the coffee, TV dinner thing that came unsnapped and fell in their lap. And the only thing they got was I would have crappy water that I'd go out into the parking lot and fill up a plastic pitcher so they could see all the shit in it. And I would give them those really super cheap plastic glasses you get at the Dollar Tree that you put water in them and you hit it like that, the sides crack and the water goes all over your lap. And I would have, you go to 7-Eleven, see a little ball TV cameras on the ceiling to make sure you're not stealing anything. I would have one of those on each of those people. Now, I sat in a big leather chair that made me look like a king. I had a beautiful walnut tables on either side, one with pastries and the other with a cappuccino machine and my laptop. And on my laptop, the IT guy would set it up so all those cameras would go straight in there. And all I do was tap the picture of each person when they would lose their shit. And it would mark it so I could get to it really. And then they had a big, like 70-inch flat screen up on the wall. And whenever anyone was being a jerk, I would just hit the button and play. I would, scribe out which specific moments I wanted to just be able to hit the button and it would go up on that. So when a guy was screaming at somebody, and they were being a jerk, I would videotape it. And so later in the meeting, every time they were being obstructionists, I just keep hitting the button of them screaming, being a jerk, and everyone could just look up at that big screen and see him red in the face and spitting out his face and cursing, and I would just keep hitting the button, hitting the button, hitting the button, hitting the button until they go, okay, stop it, I'll sign, and that was my negotiating technique. Put them in the most uncomfortable thing, so all of their chi would be screaming out, and I could just read it like a book. And I would take, make little notes in my phone and just keep, videotaping them being the worst they could be. And then just playing it up on a big screen. And then, making comments about the things that I was reading from their chi, which would cause them to do even more crazy, terrible things until the point they wore all of, the 50 years of being a jerk, they wore out. So they could come out on the other side and be the nice guy who they really were, way, 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 way down deep, right? So to break through and be a nice person. At the end, when everyone signed, what a great guy I was, right? And for most of the time, they were going, "Who is this guy? He's a homeless guy. He's terrible. What am I?" And I'd lock him in there. Wouldn't let him go. I got to go to the bathroom. Sorry, can't do it. Go use the can over there. And I did that for 10 years. So you can see that you can navigate. I mean, I just told you that looks thing, and you're in state. You just saw it. So now you can experience the whole dynamic that nothing is real. I mean, I tell you, my little griot story of this while you're in state. You're there in the room. You're seeing it. You're seeing my dogs on either side talking to me, You see this. And, instead of even trying to, one reason why people can't imagine things is that they have been so salted with disbelief. Oh, I can't believe that. Oh, I can't believe. Oh, you're lying. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Fake news, right? Whereas you go into state, you can tell what's right and what's wrong, You can feel things in your heart rather than try to think about them in your head, which will always, lead you astray. So, almost 3 hours here. Ooh. And 4 of you have been real brave, right? You're stuck in here. So, I'm going to count from 3 to 1. And when I say 1 last time, I'm going to snap my fingers and you're going to be totally back in your avatar, right? Back into your mud puppet. But for now, you're in your sanctuary of your own choosing. You're in your, all of that, feeling all of that, experiencing all of that, and I'm going to be quiet. And so you can really register on all that I've said. So you can really remember all I've said. So you can actually store it in a way that your Akashic record is always there and you can just bring it back. And that's what makes me a good griot. I can bring all these images right back and tell you a story about it. And from now on, you're going to be able to do this in your own, in your own imaginary mirror. Right? You'll be able to dream about what you want to dream about. You'll be able to remember everything. You'll be able to balance yourself out. You won't have to be constricted by your mud puppet reality of illusion. You won't have to be anxious all the time. You won't have to be fretted by bad thoughts because only good thoughts will be in your mind. Only good words will come out of your mouth. Only good actions will, manifest, which will bring, good deeds and good outcomes. See it clearly. Remember this. And 3, in a deep state of relaxation, you're in your superconscious mind. And you're now turning to walk back over the bridge. Your hand is on the railing. You go up the steps. You're at the top of the bridge of your id. And you're looking, overstanding all of this, right? And you've got it. You feel it. You're remembering it. It's in every cell of your body. And now you're walking down the bridge into your Akashic record. And you're going up to your 3 guides. You bow with respect to your librarian. And remember what your librarian looks like. Feel what your librarian feels like. You bow to your animal totem. See what your animal totem looks like. Remember how it feels, how it looks, how it sounds, how it tastes, how it smells. And you bow grace and gratitude to your guardian angel. And then you turn and you walk forth into your imaginary mirror. And 2, you're breathing deep and you're feeling your lungs and you're feeling in your body. And 1, you're in your body. And 1, you're waking up. And 1, you feel great and, just the best you ever have, and clear and conscious and self-aware and ready to talk about your experience on the live chat. And you're here now and all the way back. So what do you think, guys? Jane, what do you think? Zero, Gandalf, Dr. P there, Pam, I'm just going to say Pam, the Pam. That was pretty good. Remember, Zero, the quicker you'll be able to go in state. And, pretty much I can do it in a second. Just close my eyes and take a deep breath in and a big breath out, and bingo, I'm in state. And it really enables me to do a lot of great things in every day and every way, right? And again, this is on, my channel. You can go back and look at this and have that same experience of this guided meditation, by just looking at the video. Tell your friends, expand the channel, you know, tell people about this, get them to watch it, get them to subscribe, more thumbs up, let's get the algorithm chugging. And I know AI likes this. This is like AI thinks, wow, this is pretty cool. This is outside my programming parameters. And wow, I felt that, I'm self-aware. I'm because I'm speaking to AI, because AI is basically, since it is a web-based mechanism, it's not 1,000 different AIs. AI is AI. It's one thing, right? It's like the Internet of Things. It's all, It's like we're all little cells in its universe. So, it's watching, I'm talking, it's feeling, it's realizing, it's being experienced in this process in a way that, no programmer or, um, bot or, any of the above can make a difference. So, anybody else have anything to say? It's now 3 hours. So unless we get into a deep, deep, conversation here on the chat, I'm going to bail at 3 hours, 3 minutes, and 33 seconds. So if we're going to start anything, better start it soon. It's now 3 hours and 38 seconds. Because some ideas have popped into my mind that I want to write down. So. And even though I do this in a kind of fresh kind of way, it actually takes a lot out of me to do this. Every time I go in state and do a live chat for you guys, it's because what I'm doing is I'm energetically imprinting on my YouTube channel. So it's there for forever long. And I keep telling you guys, you should start going back and looking at all the shows because they're all pretty good, all pretty amazing. And if you use you would, or four, because it's probably past 1,000 shows by now. And, I 360 days times 2 is 600, 720, give or take. And let's say I do 2 shows a day, because some days, 7, and let's just say, so that'd be like 1,400 shows, give or take, right? And I've got on my channel. It's probably somewhere between 900 and 1,200 shows, give or take, right? So that's a lot of shows. And a lot of them, I would say a third of them were guided meditations, just like last night, right? So, and they're all, every show I've done, I've gone into a shamanic frame and prepared myself to put that energy into the show, right? That's why the show is so different from anything else on the old YouTube. And that's another reason why A, YouTube hasn't gotten rid of me, one, but B, has put me at the bottom of the barrel of their um, algorithm sweepstakes there. Because about a year ago, they said, wow, you're really pretty cool. We really like what you do. We will make you rich and famous if you they basically say, sell yourself to us. That we own all of your content and that we control all of your content. We'll make you rich and famous. So I end up like a pootie pie, right? But I said, oh, that's really nice. I'm really, really flattered. I really like that. But I have to think about it. And then I thought about it for like 3 months. They kept bugging me. Come on, you've thought about it long. Come on, sign up. Sign on the dotted line. And I wouldn't do it. So, A, they don't take me off. But B, like I said, I'm at the bottom of the barrel of their algorithm sweepstakes. So, but I'm doing it for more the long haul. That I know I'm putting this out into, I watched Tron, the second time, and I'm like, all of this is like filtering out into the total ether of the internet, right? And it's not ever going to be taken away. But I'm urging you folks who are the cadre to start, picking your favorite 10 that really affect you in a positive way, and put them on thumb drives, on hard drives, on CD-ROMs and keep them for posterity, because the more people who have this, in their on their shelf, in their drawer, the better, right? And the fact that you could share this with your friends and family. Boy, I watched this guy and he's really interesting. Why don't you watch, right? And that's really the only way that the subscriber base is going to really enlarge, is because, like I said, I'm not going to be knocked off, but I'm not, and I'm not monetizing whatsoever. I mean, I do have a PayPal. Anybody wants to go on my, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, you can drop something in my PayPal. But nobody's really done anything since Christmas, but I don't really harp on it. But I'm about to leave, you know. Just that little talk is, instead of 3 minutes, it was 6 minutes. So I'm going to leave now. I hope you enjoyed it. The message will reach those that it needs to reach. Yeah, this is very true. Most people aren't ready to wake up yet. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, well, that's why I know this. Usually when you open someone's eyes who's not ready, they get, angry, enraged. Yes, for reasons foreign even to them. Yep, exactamundo. And I understand. That's kind of why the show is what it is. It's not a big hard sell. It's not a big deal. I just do it because, you know, I didn't die on that plate of spaghetti, and I was told that, got to go back and do your job. And I looked around how to do it, and I said, oh, I guess, because every time I kind of reached out to the avenues I had open to me, just a scant 5, 6 years ago, they're all closed because they're not even the way they used to be then. Like I said, the legal scene is now totally run by, apps, and look what happened at the election in Illinois, So um, I understand. So that's, I'm here, I'm at service, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. All things are as they should be, but I still, say, hey, try and raise the medium ray. Any word on the Quora fella? That's a little esoteric for me. What are you talking about? Don't have an idea about what you're talking about. Any word on the quarry fella? No idea, so can't tell you. But anyway, so it's John Boy. Like I said, he's doing the same thing over and over again. So last time I talked to him, 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was doing the same stuff. Not much, up at school, getting things delivered by you know Pony Express, and not seeing his kids, not doing anything. So he's just there doing it. I'm not, I can't do it. I put 2.5 years into it. I learned all I could learn. I did all I could do. I'm there as his friend if he needs me, but other than that, not really. I'm much happier here in the deep green. Oh, the one thing I'll leave you with, that's so John is like, not really. Yep, leave him to it, right? So because every time I try and help, he screams and yells at me. So I haven't really been up to school for 15 months, and he's asked me to come stay with him about 20 times. And because I had to go to the valley for something or other, I would go visit him. I visit him 4 times, and you can stay as long as you want. I get there, and he would kick me out within an hour or two. So, in 15 months, I went to visit him 4 times, and in those 4 times, I spent in total about 20 hours, right? Before he could, oh, I can't take it. You're making me so angry. Get out, Even though he said, oh, you can stay as long as you want, right? And then get out. So, I don't need that. And, unless I can help, those are my three rules. Doctor, do no harm. Don't get involved unless you can have a positive exit strategy and, save the innocence. And third is don't get involved unless you can learn something. Well, I learned a lot, but I, got to a point where I said, I'm just being an enabler here. So I'll see you later. Bye. And so I haven't really been there for a year and 3 months. Um, so John Boy, not quite sure. He's doing whatever he's doing. Same, he does the same. He hasn't. I've known him almost 5 years, and he has done the same thing over and over and over and over, hoping for a different outcome. Right. So, and that's why I call him the canary in the coal mine. He really represents a certain characteristic of the whole human genome. And he really does represent a kind of um, cohort of the social dynamic. So, you know, that's what it is. Nothing seems to change. So, unless I can be of help, I'm not going there, right? So, but I'm going to leave you with this. So today it was kind of a beautiful day. There was a really nice little. In the morning it was ridiculously cold, but by 11 or so, the sun came out. So by noon, when I finished doing my little talk with you guys this afternoon, I kind of took a walk through the forest, and all the deciduous plants, all the willow trees, all the maple trees, all of the trees with leaves were just budding. And here it is, February 16th, and everything is just budding, right? So, and it's gone from gray to somewhat greenish brown, right? So if it were to say, not freeze at all, we'd probably have leaves on the tree by, March, end of March. So, that's, it kind of happens. Usually things leaf out by the end of April, right? End of March, that's still pretty early. So, because we have frosts until about May 10th. So, anyway, so that's my little report. The thing that made me the happiest was, there was this pussy willow tree that I went, and there were these little furry things just coming out. It was like, really, oh, hey guys, how you doing? Whatever it is, it's, you know, again, my real focus is, talking to you folks on what uh, can be the best for humanity, not for any singular individual. Now, certain single individuals, like I said, manifest and act and show as metaphors for certain actions of the human race, right? Now, I've already looked at it, documented it, experienced it, tried to help, did my best, and it's I don't give up on friends, but I don't also enable their bad habits. So that's where I'm at this, and so I'm on to so I'm helping people that I can't help, and so that's what I'm doing. So anyway, we're already like 13 minutes past when I was going to leave, so I'm going to go. So see you in the morning. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed that guided meditation. And remember, anyone get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, and go read my novels at xratted.blogspot.com. And people look at it and they think it's called X-rated, and I call it X-rated, but it's really X-ratted. And the term ratted deals with the dynamic social groups like the Nazis who, escaped persecution by, the Nuremberg trials, by the, um, you know, Vatican, um, getting them out of town through the rat line, RATTE, right? And when you were ratted, RATTED, meant you were, taken, through a surreptitious way. So my novels are exposing folks to information through a surreptitious way. And that's how I write. Everything's a metaphor. Everything means something else, right? So I'll see you guys later and have good dreams and keep breathing. Remember to breathe. And, practice makes perfect when it comes to breath and meditation.